Well, hello, amazing beings. I'm so excited to be back here with you today at 1:11, close enough, right? 1:11 on February 24th. And I have an amazing guest that I'm going to tell you about in the beginning in a minute. And I just want to thank you for being here. I'm so grateful and I'm so surprised at how many people followed us over from Broadcast Team Alpha. This is still Broadcast Team Alpha, but it is the Quantum Health Lifestyle and Wellbeing Show, so it's a little bit of a parallel universe, in the world of Broadcast Team Alpha. The universe of Broadcast Team Alpha, a parallel stream, that would probably be the right word. And I'm so grateful for all of you people that I'm just meeting that have just found us. So welcome. Thank you so much. While you're here, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you don't want to miss any shows, click on that little bell and then you will be notified. And I think there's a choice on the kind of notifications that you receive, whether you receive everyone or there's other choices. So, and I do want to invite you to our membership group. Our membership group is an exclusive community. It's kind of like going backstage after a concert, you get to meet Augie and myself there, and we have Zoom meetings where we get, up close and personal, have conversations. We have amazing people like Jeni came on and did some readings for our membership group, and naturopathic doctors coming. And there's also content in there that we're not ready to put out to the general population. Some of those videos are we're vulnerable, like a bit more vulnerable than our, personality that you see on Broadcast Team Alpha. And we're kind of test driving those kind of sharings. So I'm doing a series on healing relationships from domestic violence and narcissistic abuse. So I have 2 videos in the series. So click on the link. Mac's going to put it in the chat and join us over there. But now let me tell you about my beautiful friend and guest today. Jeni Ji Cousins is an internationally known television clairvoyant, psychic medium, animal communicator, esoteric spiritual life coach, and teacher. She's a past life akashic record reader. She's a meditation teacher. She's a relationship coach, transformation coach, and a pranic healer. Jeni reads into your level of consciousness to see where you are and to see your soul's previous lifetimes, what karmic situations you need to resolve. She's also been doing readings for over 35 years. Jeni's amazing. That's why she's here. She hosted and produced a live spiritual talk show on Shaw TV television studios for over 4 years and has a column in sfyogamagazine called Just Ask Jeni Ji. Jeni has been on many North American radio shows, podcasts. She's in magazines, being interviewed, and she's currently working on other media projects. Mac is going to put Jeni's website in the chat. It's soulworkwithjeni.com. But I just want to welcome you, Jeni. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, thank you, Nori. I'm always honored, to be a part of any of your shows. Completely honored, truly grateful.
Thank you. So welcome. So welcome. And just a little background, guys. Augie introduced me to Jeni, and Jeni is so incredibly accurate that she immediately got my attention. Got my attention so much that I've consulted with her on several things because she is so incredibly accurate. Jeni is the real deal. And in the past, we've had Jeni on and she's done many readings for everybody. And today we're not going to do that. Today, I want to get to know who Jeni is, how this came about for her, and what it's like, the magic and the responsibility of being a clairvoyant psychic medium. Because, Jeni, knowing things about people is really a big responsibility. And having to discern what's appropriate to tell and what isn't, how do you sort through that?
Well, I mean, that's why whenever I'm with someone, I read into their level of consciousness immediately. Because, I mean, we're all on different levels. We all have our own path. And I'm not going to, have a client where I speak more in an esoteric tongue, as they call it, because they wouldn't understand what I'm talking about. Not everybody believes in past lives and certain things or situations. So that's exactly why I see where you're at. Number one, where you're at and what level. And then I take it from there and bring things to the light for you where you're going to understand what I'm talking about. And not only I give you my insights, I will, let you know, okay, now, if somebody asks me, for instance, I have a couple of jobs to go to, or I will tell you, okay, if you went to this job, this is how it's going to go. This is what's going to happen. And if you go to that job, this is what's going to happen, and so on. And I give you my insights. And then, of course, it's like, okay, you can now choose which direction you want to go in. And, like people are like, well, how do I know if I'm doing the right decision? And I'm like, well, listen to your intuition. And even let's say if you're not sure, the only way you're going to find out is to try it. And it's,
exactly.
Because it's then that way, at least they have a little bit of understanding of this is what's going to happen. It's like with anything, any relationship. If you go with this person, this is what's going to happen. Or if you go with that person. And if somebody believes in past lives, let's say, then I'll give you my insights in who they are in your past life and why they've returned and what's going to happen.
I love that. And we were talking about Jenny's beautiful little dog, Bella, and that Bella has a karmic past with Jeni. Mm-hmm. And I know when those dogs come into my life too. I mean, Pixie, I call her my 4-pound wolf because we've been together at other times, when she was a much bigger creature. So how did this come about for you? Were you a little girl and all of a sudden you knew stuff, or how did that happen?
Well, when I was 4, and it's so interesting because certain people always say the age 4 because we all have different cycles. Like when I was younger, I knew I was different somehow. I didn't know how. And I didn't want to be in the family I was with. I didn't connect with them. I didn't want to be there. And I was laying in bed and I'm like, I couldn't sleep. So I went and jumped into my parents' bedrooms. And then I was laying in their bed and their window was wide open and it was the full moon. So I connect with the moon and the stars. And I kept on saying, I want to go home. I don't want to be here at all. I don't want to be with this family. I don't. So all of a sudden, these angelic beings, as I call it, they came in the room. They're standing in front of me. And I immediately felt that home. I just felt that love, that calming, like, I know you. I don't want to be here. Please take me home. And I was like, I don't want to be here. And I was crying. And they told me, no, you wanted to come back because you want to clear issues karmically. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be here with this family and all of that. So anyways, I just felt this energy or calmness. Like it was like this unbelievably amount of love energy. It's so hard to describe, go right through me. And I completely calmed down. And then I fell back to sleep. Aww. And I would see so many things. And I just thought it was normal when I was younger that everybody sees that or hears that. Yes. And then I started to find out, no, that's not right.
Right.
Yeah.
We get it taught out of us because it is normal. It is normal, but we do get it conditioned out of us. So Did your family notice there was something different about you, or did they kind of?
Well, I mean, I was never accepted by my family. I was always the black sheep, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, when I started to see certain things, like even colors and auras around someone, you know, my parents thought I was having troubles with my eyes. So they'd take me to the eye doctor. And I mean, I was going to doctors when I was younger because they're like, there's something wrong with her. Right? So, and I didn't know. And then in my early teens, my neighbor at that time, you know, I knew he was very different. I just knew he was very different. I'd look into his eyes and I could see right through his whole entire soul. And then I started babysitting for him and his wife because they had children. And he came, and I ran outside one day because we lived next door, and I was in tears, and I'm like, I don't want to be with this family. I was saying that I don't want to be here. I don't feel a part of it, all of these things. So anyways, he came to me and he said, "You're seeing things, aren't you?" And I'm like, how do you know that? Right. And I knew that he knew somehow. So and I knew him. I felt comfortable with him. Like I've known him before, and I didn't understand at that time that meant we were connected in another lifetime. So he started me on my metaphysical studies when I was 14. And the only thing I was connecting with was like the esoteric books, Alice Bailey.
Yes.
You know, the real in-depth knowledge. That's the only thing I was connecting with. And I'm like, okay, that's why I'm seeing that. And so I started from that point on, and that really started to open up my abilities, which freaked me out a little bit. Because I mean, when I was, you know, when I could drive, I was driving down like the highway, and I literally saw the road I was driving on moving like that. And I was seeing all of these particles and everything on the concrete road of what was holding that together. And I literally felt I was in space driving above this concrete.
Wow.
So there's so many things. Yeah.
I've had a momentary glimmer of that maybe twice in my whole life, but I understand what you're talking about. It's like you're seeing things on such an intricate yet expanded level. Is that how you receive your information? You know, I've heard people say that, I've said that when I receive things, I kind of receive blocks of pictures. That's the way that the angels give me stuff. How do you receive? Because I've seen you in action and you're like, oh yeah, it's this and that. And I'm like, what just happened there? How'd that come in?
I mean, like I literally get messages 24/7 nonstop in all different ways. Like I can smell things. I can feel things. I can see things. I sense things. I'm very, very, very sensitive. And that's why I can't be around a lot of people all at once. I can kind of like, you know, get a little anxiety a little bit. Right. Yeah. But I just start, you know, I can look at somebody and I can see right through that person's complete soul, body, mind, and spirit, all of their past lives in seconds. Like if I went into like a large stadium, let's say there's some football game going on, thousands of people, I could read that energy in a second flat, even way before I get there. And that's why when certain people ask me for invites, I'm like, no, because I immediately scan what's going to happen, how it's going to go, all of these things. And I'm like, no, thanks. Right. Or, you know, depending on circumstances. Right.
Yes.
So it's so quick, so fast, because I'm in tuned constantly. And I mean, I spent a lot of years on my own. And some people who really knew me used to call me the Tibetan Buddhist monk, because I'd spend a lot of time chanting and meditating and really tuning in. I get so many messages from spirit, and even certain readers have never picked up what messages that I've received from the other world, as I just call it, the other world, because it's nonstop from so many different energies.
Yeah. Do you ever say, okay, guys, I'm going to bed now. We're going to turn it off for a while. Or do you ever turn it off, or are you always on?
It's always on. And just to give you like an example, like I had a client and his girlfriend had died. And so he came to me, and anyways, I think it was a couple of nights later, a few days later, his girlfriend that had passed, she came to me and she wanted me to give him a message. And I'm like, you know what? It's late at night. No, that's not going to happen. So she would not leave me alone.
Wow.
Until I was going to give him this message. And I'm like, it's 2 a.m. for God's sakes. I couldn't sleep. She was keeping me up. And I'm like, I'm not going to send him a message and wake him up at 2 a.m. So I'm like, you know what? I sent him the message, and I was really hoping he didn't have his phone on, let's say. And the second I sent him that message, she disappeared.
Wow.
And I fell asleep.
You're so persistent. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because even in the middle of the night when I wake up and, I immediately start getting in a lot of information, like any hours during the night, even if I want to get a drink of water or use the bathroom or whatever it is. And it's during that time, I get shown a lot of different things with me. And I'm like, okay, don't do this to me now because I don't want to stay awake. I need my sleep. Exactly. Why can't you do this during the day? Right?
Yes.
So yeah, and I
sign with your office hours.
Yeah, it's like really, but you're still in that delta wave energy. And even I tell people to keep notebooks beside your bed, because as you're waking up, you're still in the spirit world. You're still in that energy. And, some people might even remember what was shown into their dreams because certain times, we go into the spirit world, meet our ascended masters, family and friends who have passed on and such and animals. And then as we start to come back into our body, we hear this clunking sound, this big bang sound. And we're like, what was that? And that's because you're going back into your body from etherically. That's why we have that cord. It's not the umbilical cord, but it looks like that, but it's a silver cord. So that way, when we do astral travel or when we pass on, we still come back to our physical body when it's time for us to physically wake up.
Right. And I noticed recently, because I'm being awakened at really crazy hours, but I noticed that I'm coming back and whatever it is big, maybe I go, because Pixie's right there looking at me like, you okay? So it's true. Whatever that re-entry point is, it's very big and it wakes me up. And then I check the time and I look up that angel number.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how did you discover that you were an animal communicator?
I mean, I've always communicated with animals in many ways, but one of the many, I should say, but one of the special times was many, many, many years ago, and I was having some medical issues. And I went to my doctor, and he told me, you're going to have a hysterectomy. And so I left his office, and I'm like all devastated, and I'm like, I don't think so. So I had went back home, and I was on my balcony, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. So then I had ravens. I love ravens. And I all of a sudden had ravens come over, like literally like around me. And I heard them giving me a message there, like, go to acupuncture, fertility, all of this stuff, go to acupuncture. And I started communicating with them. And so anyways, I booked an acupuncture treatment that week. And in one session, the issue that I had was gone in one session. It was one acupuncture treatment, and there is natural herbs that she gave me as well.
Yes.
And it was instantly gone.
That's how
no issue ever since then.
That is exactly how it's supposed to be. We are made to self-heal. It's just our mind and the lies that we were taught and the conditioning that we were, was imposed upon us that we took on also. we move away from the divine truth of who we really are. So I love that. And I love birds. What's the deal with birds anyway? Because a lot of people have a thing with birds, and I do. Yeah. And what is the thing with them?
Birds represent self. Self. Right. And, depending on certain birds and the message and what's involved with it and such like that. I mean, like one raven is magic with a big message. Like my wolfhound, I used to work on call on and off at a hospice for many, many, many years. And then I went over to see one of the patients, long story. And when I was at her house, there were signs before, but this huge raven that I've never in my entire life ever seen a raven that huge ever. Yes. It didn't even look real. And I was like, and he was starting to talk to me and I started to get emotional and I'm like, I can't right now. I'm with someone. I had chills go through my body. It was like that Merlin energy right there. So the very next morning, McTavish collapsed and he died. My wolfhound. Wow. And birds are messengers. Like even when I used to do readings, at many years ago, I was one of the places I lived in. The kitchen table was right beside this huge window, and then there was a balcony. And I used to have a magpie come to my window and sit there, and he was like doing the can dance. And it was like, okay, when are you going to put your hat off and on? Like right? Do the kicks, right? So birds represent self. There's always different messages. And, it's all about just kind of don't force any messages. Just really kind of pay attention to what you're feeling or sensing with your intuition. Don't force it because there's so many different messages, like so many different messages.
Yes.
I talk to the animal kingdom like all the time, 24/7.
I love talking to the animal kingdom. And when my 20-year-old cat, right, I had left for work that day and I'm like, Angel, you got to let me know. You got to let me know when it's time. And I went to work and I happened to come home early and there was a 7-Eleven at the top of my street and I was going to stop there, but a crow, I don't know if that's the same as a raven, came right in front of my windshield and fashioned itself into like the shape of an arrow and led me home. And it was because I had to go take care of Angel. Yeah. Just amazing. Yeah.
They're messengers, like they're extraordinarily messengers. Yeah. People are like, no, that's a sign of death. And I'm like, there's many messages and ravens and that's why it's like, you gotta know what their message is. Like, I'll never, ever forget ever that message and that crow, or that raven, never have I still can look at his eyes right now as we speak. Yeah.
So is there anything more, amazing isn't a good word, more transcendent, awe-inspiring than making eye contact with a bird and know that you're communicating, right? That is just everything.
Yes. I remember years ago, and I actually have it on my website under animal communication. I went with McTavish, his birthday was August 24th, and I'd go to the zoo every year in celebration of him. And I always brought my camera with me because I love the animals. And there is this lion, and I connected so deep with him, and the message he gave me was like extraordinary. And I told him I would share his message. And when I shared his message, or when I put it on my website, or soon after that too, what he told me started happening in the animal kingdom world. That was when, I don't know if you remember, all of a sudden we started hearing on the news that all of a sudden an animal escapes from the zoo and attacks people, or all of a sudden an animal starts attacking people because they're taking back their righteousness. They're tired of the poachers. They're tired of getting treated horribly and all of those kinds of things, right? I don't know if you remember that. I sure remember that, because that's exactly what the lion told me, and plus even more. So I shared a little bit, not all of it, because it was, for me, it's a very sacred message. And I put it on my website, and his photo, like he's amazing, amazing. So, like it, yeah.
What we're talking about is the magic of what you do, right? There's so much more than just helping out with a relationship, which is, when you're in a bad spot and you're in pain, that's a wonderful thing. But tell us more about the magic. I mean, what is it that you love about what you do?
I mean, for me, my biggest reward is helping somebody to where, I mean, I deal with a lot of different suicides, for instance, as well. And, when somebody says, you know what, and I don't think anything of it, I just do my work, and I really don't think too much about it. Right. And then when you start getting people like that says, you know what, you really, really made a huge difference in my life. Right. And then they'll tell me why. Right. And they're just completely, you saved my life, or, anything like that. And then I kind of stop and think for a little bit, and for me, that's my reward, because there's so many people that have nobody to talk to. And I'm one of them. Like, I've always never been accepted by my family, basically thrown on the streets when I was younger, long story. Right. And, it really gives you that strength to, to be like, I don't ever want somebody to go through what I went through. I understand what it's like to not have anybody there for you, or anybody to talk to, or, especially when you're going through so many different situations. I mean, especially nowadays with how the world has changed, right? And then be able to really, when after you speak to that person, I like them to leave in peace as much as I can, and that's why I'll read into your level of consciousness, because there's certain things I might not say to you, of course, because I know that you're not going to be able to handle it or deal with that. So I will give you a lot of information, because I already know certain things are going to, like if somebody's going to pass on, I will not ever tell somebody that ever. That's up to God, and so on. I'll give some different information to that person, spend some more time with them, or just different things like that. And then that way they're like, wow, I'm so glad I spent some time, because you know what, Jeni, all of a sudden they had passed away.
Oh,
right.
That's
different. Yeah. Different things like that. And it's like, when I talk to somebody, it's like, okay, this is your situation that you're going through. Also, this is how you can work through that. This is how you can get back grounded. This is what you can do to shift and transcend in quantum leaps forward. This is, all of these little things and steps to help that person, because the more people that I can help, the more that person helps other people.
Exactly.
And that's how we can create world peace and togetherness and compassion and understanding for people.
And we need it.
So that's my reward. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And we need that so much right now, Jeni, because everything is like just so upside down on so many levels. So I love that's your ethic. That's your responsibility. I don't tell people when somebody's going to pass away. And I think that's great. I don't know what I would do. If I would probably do the same thing if I had your gifts, truly. But
it's not easy, because like when you see a friend, right? Like one of my best friends, her daughter committed suicide not long ago. And that was very difficult to deal with. Because I've known her since I was 15, was there for all of her children. And that was very difficult. That's not easy to deal with. And when I see, especially people that I know and really care about, and that I can see certain things like that coming. And of course, I'm not going to say, oh, by the way, never.
Right.
Never, ever. I had a friend years ago tell me his boyfriend had jumped off the balcony and committed suicide. This was years. And he came to me and he was so angry. And he goes, why didn't you tell me that was going to happen? And I'm like, seriously? What am I going to tell you? That, oh, by the way, next week your boyfriend's going to kill himself? Like, seriously?
Exactly.
Seriously?
Exactly. No. I love that about you.
Yeah. No.
Do you help other people to open up to their gifts, to their clairvoyance?
Yes. I work with people of all ages. Like I even work with children. One of my youngest clients is 8. And of course, when their parents are with them or a parent, then, it's that child and the parent, or if it's somebody else over 18, for instance, that's responsible, because there's so many people that do have abilities and we're all gifted and unique in our own way, as I've always seen. And when somebody has a lot of different abilities, yes, I help that person bring it out, because in certain different cultures, let's say, for instance, it's a taboo. Right.
Yes.
So when somebody might say, oh, yeah, I'm seeing this or that, or whatever, the family can shut that person down right away and say, that's a really bad thing. All of these different things, and when somebody's struggling and I'm like, yeah, you're okay. You're very different.
Yes.
And I even had a client many years ago phone me. He was in a psych ward. Wow. And I'm like, where are you? And he goes, I says, what happened? So because he started talking about his abilities, like his Kundalini was awakening. And so, of course, it went too quickly and it really screwed with his mind. And because he was starting to say all of these things were happening, his family thought he was going crazy. His doctor thought he was going crazy. He went in the psych ward. So I told him how to deal with that. And I told him how to get out of the psych ward to be able to get out. Right. Yeah. So it's like I help people expand their abilities, because when that person has abilities, that's part of who they are. That's their soul. That's part of their destiny and their purpose to help other people. The more people that can work with other people and help and share, the more peace on earth will be able to walk all together more in compassion and understanding with no judgment.
Absolutely. And while you're talking, little scenarios are coming back. So from being an emergency room nurse, I can't tell you how many people who were brought in because they were psychotic, when they were telling me the story that if you listen really closely, it sounds disjointed, but you can begin to hear where they are and that they're on the brink of this spiritual awakening and nobody's getting them. It's in there if you take the time to feel it and hear it, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I used to channel with like a lot of different people, but I always remember years and years and years ago. I like Jim Morrison from The Doors, even though he was an alcoholic and drug addict. There's many reasons, right? Many reasons. And he was very gifted. He could see a lot, right? I don't know if people know that. And I would get messages from him. And I always remember I was listening to his songs and stuff like that. And then he used to play at the Whiskey Go-Go at this place down in California. I think it was LA or whatever. So I was in the bathtub and I happened to be reading like a magazine, and exactly the Whiskey Go-Go was there. And it was so interesting because I felt his energy, and he died in the bathtub.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Symbolic. Yeah.
Yeah. So lots of different things like that. And he was very, like, he could see a lot, and he was very connected. And even whenever he did his hallucinate, his drugs, which I don't recommend people, right? But he would see a lot. And if you ever saw the movie, Val Kilmer played his role. And Val Kilmer used to channel Morrison as well. That's why he did an extraordinary job with it. And even the very beginning of the movie shows him going down the highway, in the desert. And then there is this car crash, and then Morrison sees the shaman coming through.
Wow.
Yeah. Yes. So I get messages from people, of course, that have passed on lots of, and I don't say much about it, unless there's a reason to, of course. Right. Yes. But yeah.
And being in water, right, tends to, what is it like does it help conduct the information? Because I know I get my best information in the shower.
Yeah. Yeah, because water represents emotions, and a lot of empath. That's why I love the ocean. That's why I'd go to Hawaii every year. That's, for me, that's my home. That's where the only place I've ever felt a home is there, right? And by the water, if you take a look at the water, doesn't matter if it's an ocean or a lake, take a look at what you're seeing with the waves, let's say. Are you like, oh my God, those waves are really scary. Oh my God. Or are you looking at those waves coming in and feeling calm? So you're going to know water represents emotions. So if you're looking at the water and you're feeling calm, no matter how high the waves are or whatever is going on, that tells you where your emotions are. And if you look at the waves and you're like, oh my God, they look so scary, it tells you where your emotions are. And water, you were born into your mother's womb, right? And into like her stomach, of course, immersed in water.
Yes.
So, water will calm you down. Water is a great place to go for healing. Like, that's why I'll say, like, I used to teach monthly meditation classes at my place before COVID. And, I tell people, if you can go by water, especially whenever you're anxious or need a healing, because that water, just being by the water, or especially immersed in the water, will help you get back grounded.
Yes. Oh, I love water. I love water. And I remember having this recurring dream of being in this massive wave, Jeni. I mean, like a tsunami proportion wave, and being in the pipeline and going, oh, I'm not even afraid. And there was something so powerful and magical about that dream.
Yeah, because Spirit was telling you you're facing your fears. And if you have any fears, you're going to face them with ease.
I love that. that. So before we go, can you just talk a little bit about the energy today? Because I woke up and took care of some things today that have been pending, and it was pending in the way that I'm like, I'm going to know the right time to take care of this. And today was that. I mean, I woke up, bam, 3:14 in the morning, and I'm, making texts and emails. So what is happening today?
Well, I mean, like the energy today, of course, obviously it's going to affect everybody differently. So the energy today is very powerful, and it's bringing certain things to the core that is going to irritate you, let's say. Like I've been expecting the delivery forever. And I was like, okay, do not have it come during when I'm on here, just certain times. Right. Yes. And it's like surrendering it. Because if you try to worry about certain things today, you're going to attract it. So there's certain situations that are going to come up, and Spirit is testing you and triggering you today of how are you going to react to that situation, regardless of what. Because it's like, if you try to push certain things today, it's not going to work with you. And today's all about surrendering and letting go, like really surrendering and letting go. We still have a little bit of that like full moon, super new moon hangover feeling right now as well, and it can make people very like anxious, more tired, or supercharged. So when you're very overwhelmed today, let's say, because you have 100 things to do, it's like, okay, let me pause right now. Right. Yes. And let me look at what is my priorities today that I have to get done.
Yes.
What do I not need to do today that can wait? And sometimes whenever we write certain things down, it's easier because we're like, okay, I know I have to do that today. That, that can wait. And that will start to help you with the process. That's why sometimes it's like, what, I got to prepare for this. If it's an exam, let's say, or whatever like that, or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, yes, we need to prepare certain things. And other people might be like, what, I know my exam's tomorrow, but I'm going to do it today, study today. And people are like, are you crazy? Like, you should be studying. you have to go on your own rhythm and your own flow, because when you're going with your own flow and your own rhythm, things are going to flow.
I love
things
that.
are going to flow for you. And we all have stuff to deal with. And it's letting go today, letting go. And it's like, you know what, Spirit, like what I will do, I'm like, you know what, Spirit, I'm surrendering this and leaving this up to you. Like completely and utterly leaving this up to you. You only have control over you. Exactly. Whatever happens to anything else or anybody else has nothing to do with you. You are only in control with your actions and your behavior only. Yeah. That's it.
Yes. So good. I needed to hear that. I needed to hear the part about writing things down too. So, oh my goodness. Jeni.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us. And Mac is going to put the Jeni's media information in the chat again, so you guys know where to reach her. Jeni, what's your website again?
soulworkwithjeni.com.
Jeni or one N?
Jeni.
Jeni.
Jeni. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Jeni, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I always love talking with you.
Well, I'm always honored, and always so truly grateful whenever, we connect and you're allowing me to be a part of the shows. Always grateful. Grateful.
We love having you, and thank you for being here. And everybody, thank you for being here. And come back next Friday at 1:11 for another amazing guest that will be under the umbrella of quantum health, quantum lifestyle, or quantum well-being. That's a really big umbrella. So we're going to have some really cool guests. So much love, everybody. Jeni, thank you so much. So much love to you.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys next week. Yeah. Take care, everybody.